Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment simply requires Congress to address the impact of fire borrowing before the underlying legislation can take effect. For years now, firefighting costs have far surpassed the money Congress appropriates for fire suppression. This forces the Forest Service to transfer or borrow money from other accounts in order to put out fires that have been occurring with more frequency as each year goes by. This draws money away from projects and activities that reduce hazardous fuels, promote forest health, and mitigate the impacts of wildfire. 1% of fires now account for 30% of firefighting costs, and these costs are taking money away from the very program this bill is looking to enhance. If the goal of this bill is to improve forest management and make our forests more resilient, we have to first address the fact that firefighting costs are burning through the Forest Service budget. Don't take my word for it. The Chief of Forest Service last week told this committee that firefighting costs are his agency's biggest challenge and #1 concern. Advancing forest management legislation without first addressing the Chief's #1 concern is just irresponsible. It is indeed ironic that the party represented by the elephant is ignoring the elephant in the room. The bill also aims to provide incentives for collaboration. I support collaboration and believe our time would be well spent identifying ways to enhance the outcomes of collaborative efforts. But collaboration cannot work if projects do not have funding. The Forest Restoration Initiative in Arizona is the largest collaborative project authorized under the Collaborative Forest Landscape Restorative Program. As it's called, this program is on track to treat 1.3 million acres across 4 national forests, but fire borrowing diverted funds from this successful project as recently as 2013. Most of the country experienced one of the wettest springs on record, but extreme drought conditions persist in much of the West, including in my home state of Arizona, and wildfire risks remain very high. Wildfire is not going away. Stopping this practice of robbing these non-fire accounts has to be job #1. This is a crisis in our national forests, but it is not related to NEPA, public participation, or litigation. The crisis is Congress' failure to adequately fund firefighting. But instead of addressing the failure, we are advancing a bill that claims to promote forest health by short-circuiting bedrock environmental laws like NEPA and restricting access to the judicial system. This is certainly not the answer. My amendment makes it clear that Congress should do our job, which is to provide Forest Service the funding it needs to fight fire before we start telling the Forest Service how to do their job. With that, I yield back.
Okay. If there's further discussion, let me just say one word about this one as well. I understand that the money is a significant issue, but that is not within the jurisdiction of this committee. At some point in the process, as we take this bill forward, or it can be added to the committee, but not at this particular time. This bill, this amendment, in essence, would actually stop the entire bill from going forward and postpone any other kinds of reforms until sometime something that is not within the control of this committee has actually been performed. And for that reason, I oppose it. Also, I just wish to remind the ranking member, I have lost a significant amount of weight. You cannot call me the elephant in the room. That's all there is to it. Is there further discussion on this amendment? Not even the shrinking elephant, no. Further discussion. Ms. Songus?
Well, maybe we can call you the donkey, excuse me.
No, but you're getting warmer.
Meant in good spirit to reflect your physique. But thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in strong support of Ranking Member Grijalva's amendment and urge the committee to allow for an up or down vote. The ability of the Forest Service to adequately manage our national forests and pay for programs that improve their overall health, sustainability, and lead to strong timber economies, i.e. their resiliency, the purpose of this bill is directly related to the way we currently pay for the largest and most catastrophic fires. Fire borrowing, the practice of transferring funds away from forest restorations projects, which are focused on improving the health and resiliency of our national forests, to the use in fighting wildfires, has a direct impact on our ability to address the resiliency of our forests. In fiscal year 2015, wildfire funding accounted for 52% of the Forest Service total budget, as compared to the 1990s, when wildfire funding accounted for approximately 13% of the agency's budget. It is clear that this trend is not sustainable, dramatically compromising the Forest Service ability to invest in important restoration efforts that address the resiliency of our forests. And this despite the fact that everyone agrees we must increase the pace of restoration work in our forests for a multitude of reasons, but most importantly, to limit the potential for catastrophic wildfires. Sound management of our national forest is also vital to maintaining its many other benefits that our forests are obligated to provide, including clean water, clean air, wildlife habitat, and open space. Further, it allows for robust recreation and support for important timber economies. Over the past 3 months, the Subcommittee on Federal Lands has had 3 hearings on forest management and wildfire. A constant theme throughout these hearings was near universal agreement on one thing: Congress must address this funding crisis caused by fire borrowing in order to improve the health of our forests. In fact, at every hearing, I made a point to ask each witness if they support bipartisan legislation to address the funding problems caused by fire borrowing, and they all, both Democratic and Republican, invited witnesses agreed that Congress needs to act on this issue. Management options will always be constrained until we address how best to pay for the largest and most catastrophic fires. Both the Forest Service and the U.S. National Climate Assessment predict that the frequency and intensity of wildfires will increase throughout the 21st century. In fact, the National Interagency Fire Center predicts above normal wildfire potential in many regions of the country this year. And due in large part to effects of climate change, this trend is expected to continue. This amendment will ensure that national forestry funding does not turn into solely a national disaster fund for wildfires and can instead be used to fulfill its original purpose, to ensure our nation practices good stewardship of our national forests and landscapes for the health and benefit of all Americans. I urge the committee to accept this amendment and allow for an up or down vote. And I yield to the ranking member.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Let me thank Ms. Sangos for yielding. For the record, a bipartisan bill has to raise the cap and stop the borrowing has been referred to this committee. That's Mr. Simpson's H.R. 167 that within our purview to hear and to deal with in the future. With that, I yield back.
Mr.